Thumbs up. Okay, good to go. And then let's see, both of our guests are on as well. We will make it short, so we will get right to their presentations, but everybody is ready to go.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Stevie, I am in board docs. It's saying join the Zoom meeting, so it doesn't look like I've actually joined, or do I have to restart?
In board docs?
Yeah. So I'm over in board docs. I'm in the meeting, meeting call to order.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, it just says that I.
Okay. I don't know. We can hear you on
Okay.
Zoom and everything, so I'm not sure.
All right.
We can see you. Yeah, we can see you, Elaine. I think you've joined.
Yeah, the online version, there's where you sign in to the board doc presentation. I guess it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just see if it pops up.
Elaine, it's just the link. It's just under the administrative content, so no one else can see that. It's just for us in case we didn't have the link via email. It's just there as a reminder that that's the login. So you're good.
Perfect.
We're still online and ready to go. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So sounds like we are good to go. So I will go ahead and start. Stevie, are we good for the live feed for all of our YouTube friends?
We are ready to rock.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. This is the regular meeting of the governing board of the Litchfield Elementary School District. If you are just joining us brand new, we had an organizational meeting just prior to this, but this is our first regular meeting of 2021. I want to take an opportunity to introduce our newest board member, Mr. Jeremy Honak, who was elected in November. This is his first meeting, so everyone be kind to him. We are glad to have you on the team and welcome aboard. He will be with us for the next 4 years. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here and I'll do my best.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. First, we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. Sorry about that. I get a little bit of feedback when we all talk at once. I apologize if we were a little off on that. Okay, so to get started this evening, we are going to do something a little bit different. So to start off 2021, we are going to, as a board, we decided last year that we are going to start with what we call the Brain Smart Start. And for those of you that are familiar with conscious discipline, you will know what this is. But for those of you parents and those joining us on YouTube who don't know what that is, conscious discipline is a comprehensive self-regulation program that we have been teaching our students, our staff, our community members, anyone who will listen for the last probably 5 or 6 years now. So this is a very, very comprehensive program. It's very important to us here in Litchfield. And because our students do it every day, our teachers do it every day, as a board, we wanted to support that and kind of show off what we've learned over our time doing it and how it can also be effective in our meetings as well. So today we're going to do 4 short activities to show what the program is all about. We may not do all 4 every meeting. We may pick 1 or 2 to do, but we will rotate between board members so that everybody gets to participate. So first, we are going to start with Elaine Weathersby with our meeting message.
Thank you very much, Danielle. So I've had the privilege of working hand in hand with conscious discipline coming from the school setting. And what I had found over the years is just how wonderful of a program this is and how it really works, especially with kids, and how you can definitely move it into your own personal life. The message that I wanted to bring to everybody today was the power of intention, which at first when I read that was like the power of intention. Okay, you set your mind, you set your goals. And then I dug a little bit deeper in what Megan sent us. And basically mistakes are opportunities to teach. This is the part of power of intention. And when it comes to mistakes, Lord knows we all make them. The quote that I found that spoke to me best today was from Anne Frank when she said, "What is done cannot be undone, but at least one can keep it from happening again." Mistakes are our teachers. They help us grow as people. They sometimes hurt us. But learning from our mistakes and setting the intention to make sure that it doesn't happen again is a part of conscious discipline, where you can forgive yourself, especially as a young student who may make an impulsive mistake, to realize that, hey, everybody does this. The intention is, how are we going to be moving forward?
Wonderful. Thank you, Elaine. Next, we're going to go to Melissa, who is with our activity to commit.
So when I was thinking about a commitment that I would like to make for this meeting and going into this new year, I thought about all the things that we're going to have on our plate and all the things we're going to have to talk about. And open-mindedness seems like the thing that we all need to be committed to right now. So I have chosen to commit to being open-minded to new ideas and new ways of doing things as we proceed through our meeting.
That's great. Amen to that. I think us as a community, as a country, everyone needs to be a little bit more open-minded. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you, Melissa. Moving on, I am up next for my activity, and mine is the relaxation activity. So again, these are just very short snippets. You will hear and see more as we go on, and talking about our executive brain state and how we can stay in that, and how when you get out of that, different things that you can do. So there's conscious discipline kind of runs the gamut. So you'll learn a little bit more. But my activity today is for our relaxation activity is the STAR breathing technique. And STAR stands for smile, take a deep breath, and relax. Again, this is done both with children and with adults. So we're going to do a little breathing exercise, and we need to remember to breathe with your belly. We're doing belly breathing, not chest breathing. So you just want to put your hand on your stomach, make sure you're breathing out you can feel your hand expand. And remember, when you breathe in, we take in all the beauty of life and the things around us. And when you exhale, we let go of that which is no longer needed. So take a few deep breaths. Relax, and we are ready to continue. Next up is Kimberly with our activity to unite.
Okay, I'm really excited about this. So I think this would work better in person, but we don't have that option tonight. So if you know me very well, I really would have liked to have done a sing-along, but I'm not going to force you all to sing, but I am going to ask you all to hum. So we're going to do a hum along. So you have to unmute your microphone, and we're going to hum along to the tune of the song America the Beautiful. And I chose this song because it embraces the variety of topography in our country. And we as a board, I would like us to embrace the variety of identities that we all have as a board, as well as the folks that we work with, not only in the staff, but also parents throughout the community and community members. So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Ready.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was going to sing From Sea to Shining Sea at the end, but there you go.
I lost you there, I think, on the third stanza, but I caught back up at the end. Never good. Okay, and all joking aside, these are actually, instrumental things that happen during the day with your kids and our kids while they're at school. They happen with our staff members in meetings. They happen all across our district to really help people regulate their feelings and get prepared for the task at hand and to be able to focus. So we'll learn together as we continue to explore conscious discipline. I didn't want to leave out our new board member, Jeremy. He was the greeter. Obviously, we're not in person yet. When we are, he will physically greet people, but this evening he greeted everyone as they came onto the Zoom meeting and made sure everybody knows that they are welcome and that we're excited to have them today. So Jeremy was participating off screen, but everyone got a chance today.
And I will just say that I greet everyone, and I greet all the people out there watching, taking the time, and that are caring about our school district. Thank you.
Absolutely, well said. Thanks, Jeremy. Moving on to our recognitions and celebrations. So we will start with Mrs. Shelley Hornback.
Thank you, President Clymer. And thank you all for leading us in those conscious discipline rituals. We really appreciate that. Special welcome, of course, to our new governing board member, Jeremy Honak. So President Clymer, members of the board, and Superintendent Gunning, in my experience here in the A-rated Litchfield Elementary School District, educators seem to be quite a humble bunch. They're often reluctant to jump into the spotlight or even in front of the camera. They're here for their students first and foremost. And that's why it's especially delightful when we learn that our families, our stakeholders, our community partners are pleased with our work. They honor our work, they appreciate our work, and they go above and beyond to recognize our efforts. So tonight we celebrate two such examples of our stakeholders taking their time and their energy to intentionally seek out opportunities to champion our excellence. First, we want to highlight a nonprofit organization that is committed to supporting students by building partnerships between schools and communities. School Connect is a statewide leader known as the founder of Love Our Schools Day, and in the face of COVID, known for working collaboratively with a wide range of partners to reduce the digital divide. School Connect is a premier organization. They have strong connections across many disciplines, and they work with nearly every school district in the state. They pretty much have their pick of whom to partner with. So tonight we celebrate Litchfield's remarkable honor of receiving their call this week as the district chosen to receive 180 devices for our students in need. These devices will be donated to students at Scott Libby Elementary School and to students at all 6 of our Title I schools. I'll add that School Connect worked closely with Principal Corby Naylor and the lovely Cano family at Scott Libby Elementary School to create a video addressing the digital divide. And this can be found on our Facebook page in a post dated December 11th. So to Tracy Beal and the entire School Connect team, thank you for recognizing our excellence and for rewarding it with your generous support. We also have an extraordinarily humble teacher who was surprised this week by a parent who recognized his excellence and went out of her way to nominate him for a special award. Tonight, we thank the Phoenix Law Office of Birch and Cracchiolo for naming Mr. Darius Williams as their Star Teacher of the Month. Mr. Darius Williams was at Wigwam Creek Middle School last year, and he's now a 4th grade teacher at Corte Sierra Elementary School. Here's a portion of the parent's nomination. She writes, "Starting middle school can be stressful for students and parents. Our son's transition has been nothing short of amazing. Mr. Williams is a blessing. He goes above and beyond for his students. He started an after-school homework club for students. He doesn't have to do this. It's all on his own personal time, and it has helped our son more than he will ever know. The inspirational sticky notes that he provides to students is so moving, and it warms my soul that our son has this level of support from his teacher." So congratulations to Mr. Williams on this exciting award, and thank you to the parent who went out of her way to nominate him for this recognition. In addition to an enviable certificate of recognition, Birch and Cracchiolo will also award Mr. Williams $500 to spend on classroom supplies. It's so true that schools cannot do it alone, and we are grateful to the many families and stakeholders who take their time to celebrate and honor the excellence of our teachers and staff. Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelley. Congratulations to Principal Naylor and the Scott Libby tribe for their new devices. Congratulations to Mr. Williams for being Teacher of the Month. No small feat in normal times, and doing it in this environment means even a little bit more. So hoping you'll be able to put that $500 to good use in your classroom. Okay, moving on. We are lucky this evening to have Mr. Austin Rowe from our Congresswoman Lesko's office. He's going to talk to us about opportunities for our students. Mr.
Members of, yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. Members of the board, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share just a little bit about some of the opportunities that we offer for students in the district. I do apologize that I can't speak with you guys face to face tonight. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties earlier, but just wanted to hop on and share some of the amazing opportunities that our office offers for students throughout the school year. And as these come up throughout the year as well, I will be sure to keep everybody in the loop and continue to send out information as it's updated. First, our first program is the Congressional App Challenge. And so this program typically begins in the summer and runs through October, November. So this program is open to all middle and high school students. It essentially gives students the opportunities to code an app and submit that. And the winning app from each district is actually displayed in the US Capitol. And winners are invited to a big coding reception in Washington, DC, and things like that. So definitely a great opportunity there. We also host a congressional art competition. And so this is a similar competition. Instead of app coding, this is students have the opportunity to design or paint or create a unique type of art that they can submit as well to be displayed at the Capitol building. This program typically begins at the beginning of each year, so we're still waiting on final confirmation for when that will begin here in the spring, but I would anticipate in the next month or two. We also offer the Scholastic Achievement Program. So Congresswoman Lesko presents special certificates of congressional recognition to students who have earned at least a 3.8 GPA or higher and have demonstrated outstanding citizenship and are recommended by their school's principal. So we offer this program to all schools in the district. And so these certificates can be requested on a quarterly basis, on a semester basis, yearly, whatever a specific principal wants. So that's a great program as well. We also offer a surplus books program. So the Library of Congress has available to eligible educational organizations surplus books, which they don't necessarily need for their own use. So organizations can actually request books based on specific subjects or criteria to our office, and we can actually work with the Library of Congress to provide those books to educational or nonprofit institutions and organizations at no cost to them. And finally, our office loves to present congressional recognitions to outstanding individuals in the community. So we love to give special recognition to outstanding teachers, students, administrators, and all of that information can also be found on the Congresswoman's website to request those. So for more information on any of those programs, please do not hesitate to visit our website, which is just lesko, lesko.house.gov, or feel free to give our Surprise District office a call at 623-776-7911. And for any information on any of those programs as well, again, my name is Austin Rowe, and I kind of facilitate the school outreach programs from our Surprise District office. Thank you guys again so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Austin, very much. I would also encourage anyone watching to sign up for Congresswoman Lesko's email. She does a lot of these programs. You can see her recognitions and nominations and things like that in her, it's either weekly or bi-weekly emails that come out. So if you are interested in those programs, you can find out more about it that way as well. But anyway, if you have any more questions and you're unable to find that information, you can always call the school district as well, and they can put you in the right direction. So thank you, Mr. Rowe, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Next on our agenda, if you're following along, is 3C. It is the City of Goodyear's potential new foreign trade zone, Project Spring. And we have Mr. Harry Paxton to present to us today. Mr. Paxton, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, and see you. Welcome.
Thank you. And board members, thank you very much for allowing me to come before you tonight. And especially, I know in short notice where we just contacted you last week. I also want to thank you for the great work that you do in our community, for the school work that you do, the education that you do. We often hear about your school district, and we often tout it as we talk with companies about how excellent your school district is. So thank you for the excellent work that you do. Also joining me tonight is Lori Gary, who is our Director of Economic Development here at the City of Goodyear. So tonight I wanted to take a few minutes and give you an update as we've come before the board over the years and you've supported us, but also share with you, as I know there are several new board members, what the Foreign Trade Zone program is. In a brief, probably 10 to 15 minutes, I can do this. And then also ask for your consideration at a future board meeting, hopefully your next board meeting, for support of Project Spring. If you can go to the next slide. So you might be asking yourself, if you haven't had a presentation about foreign trade zones, what are they? So let me just take a minute and explain what a foreign trade zone is. It actually is a federal program that dates back to 1934, designed to expedite and encourage foreign commerce. So companies that are operating here that are either domestically owned or foreign owned can take advantage of the program. We're fortunate today where we are Foreign Trade Zone number 277 that covers the West Valley, not just Goodyear, but covers the entire West Valley. And the Foreign Trade Zone program is technically an area in a geographical area or a area where a company is located. It's technically considered outside of the Customs Border Protection area in terms of imports coming in, where a lot of work is done for these companies and they have to certify so that their imports can be brought in safely and efficiently, and they also receive benefits of reduced fees, which I'll talk about in a minute. They're known internationally as free trade zones. There's generally two types of zones, magnet sites and user-driven sites. And the board has helped us in the past when we originally created the program in Goodyear back in 2009 with magnet sites, and also has helped us with user-driven sites. A magnet site is an area that's designated as a foreign trade zone, generally large tracts of land. You can go back to that prior slide. There you go. One more. There you go. That usually covers several hundred acres. And then user-driven site is generally smaller, but in this case tonight, as we talk about a user-driven site, it's larger, and that's where users identified where a company has come and said they want to locate. So that's what we'll be talking about tonight. Go to the next slide, if you would. But why are foreign trade zones important? What are the benefits to companies? It reduces their fees, it streamlines importing and exporting procedures, it's higher security, it's duty deferral and tariff reduction. But in Arizona, it also provides, it's also an economic development tool in the sense that it can reduce property taxes from the 18% assessment ratio to the 5% assessment ratio. And that's really why I'm coming before you tonight, but also to explain what the foreign trade zones are and how we use them and how they've helped us and how your assistance has helped us in the past in growing the tax base. So we typically target manufacturing companies, but also the logistic companies have taken advantage of this in our community. Many of the companies are high wage companies, and that's really our target. So the benefits to the communities really are, it attracts investment that adds to the property tax base. And I'll show you a couple examples of that in a minute. And in our case, we're looking at a lot of acreage in our community over the years that was vacant, that was farmed, and very little property tax was generated for education, for the school districts, and for other taxing jurisdictions. So we also work very much to attract companies that provide high quality jobs. As we provide high quality jobs to the community, that also benefits us and benefits our education long term in our community. I'm going to go to the next slide. So where are the foreign trade zones in our community? We, back in 2009, 2010, established 3 different magnet sites. The one that pertains to this school district is up there along the 303 area. So as I mentioned earlier, the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone that covers foreign trade zones and is a federal grantee by the federal government that covers the West Valley is the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. Goodyear established those 3 magnet sites. The one we want to talk about, the area we want to talk about tonight a little bit, is the PV 303 area in North Goodyear, where you see number 1 there. Go to the next slide. So I'm going to take you back in time a little bit, back to 2014. You see over there to your left, that aerial in 2014, we had 2 operating companies. After we had created the foreign trade zone, we were able initially to attract Sub-Zero and the Dick's Sporting Goods. But most of this property in that area, as you can see, was vacant, even as recent as 2014. What's happened since that time, in the end of 2020, we had 17 different companies in that area. Those 2 blue boxes down there are 2 companies that are under construction today, but have not yet announced, but they'll also create several hundred jobs in our community. The ones with circles are the ones that are active foreign trade zone companies that are importing product, that have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in development, and have created thousands of jobs, and yes, do receive the foreign trade zone benefit. And that's companies that you have helped us in the past, those that have located in the magnet site, or those that have been qualified as user-driven companies and FTZ sites. We go to the next slide. So one example I wanted to share with you is Ball Corporation, and this highlights what really happens when a company comes on property that's vacant, that generates very little property tax today. And even though they may be given the foreign trade zone benefit, it generates significant property tax. So if we look at the undeveloped property, that line there says undeveloped, assuming there's no new investment, and where Ball Corporation is located at today, where they have their manufacturing facility, it was vacant property at the time. Several years ago, we did this analysis, and that showed what the annual cumulative taxable value was. And then over a 5-year period of time, it would generate about $246,000 in property taxes for the school districts, for the city. When Ball Corporation came and made their investment, we did this analysis based on $235 million in investment. They have since invested a total of over $270 million. They said they'd create 145 jobs. They've created well over 200 jobs. They said the minimum hourly pay would be $25, and they're well above that for the average wage of their employees. So it's high wage jobs. And then you can see the total benefit that brings to property that's undeveloped today, and the benefit that brings to the school districts, the city, over a period of 5 years. I'm going to go to the next slide. So tonight, what we're talking about, and hope to bring back to your next board meeting, is a request for support for a project today known as Project Spring. At this point in time, they have not identified who they are, We know that there's over 1,000 high-wage jobs that they would create. And as far as I know, the largest investment ever made in the West Valley of a $10 billion in capital investment. Those 17 companies that I showed you earlier in those prior slides, over a period of about 10 years, that's an investment of a little over $1 billion. And what we're talking about here is a company that could invest over 10 billion in their initial phase of development and create over 1,000 high-paying manufacturing jobs. At this point, what they are looking at is state property, which is in your district, that is west of Citrus Road, south of Indian School, down to McDowell, and over to Perryville, excluding the developed property of the Perryville prison. So once again, what we're looking at is vacant property, and even today, this is state-owned land, and so there are no taxes collected on this property today. Should the state auction it off and this company locate in that area, then it would be, property that's on the tax rolls, generating a significant amount of property tax for all the taxing jurisdictions. I'm gonna go to the next slide. So what's that economic impact? With our partners at the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, we've done an initial economic impact, looking at what the direct impact would be in the city, as well as the Litchfield Elementary School District. Now, I know you don't receive direct revenues, but it certainly generates property taxes for the schools, and under the Litchfield Elementary School District taxing percentage here, we would look at over an estimated $93 million over a 20-year period that would be brought to the school district in terms of value, or be collected for education for the school district. So significant property tax benefit over time. There is certainly a benefit to the companies. In order to be competitive for companies, we generally have to provide these types of benefits, especially for companies that invest an incredible amount of money in their capital investment. So be competitive. We're competing with other states for this project, and we're hoping that we will win the project. What they have asked, and part of their site selection criteria, is to receive assurance from the taxing jurisdictions that will support the project should they decide to come to our community. And so then that's what we'll be seeking in your next board meeting, is that support letter for this project. Last night at our city council meeting, our council passed unanimously the support for this project and for the creation of a user-driven foreign trade zone for this company should they decide to locate here. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you might have about the Foreign Trade Zone program. And hopefully I've explained it well, but please feel free to ask me any questions you might have.
I have a question. If you did give an incentive, would that be a concession on property tax or not?
Yeah, so what the Foreign Trade Zone program does, it's a law in Arizona, and this is the great thing about the law in Arizona, is it's local based. So it starts with a community deciding that it would provide, should the company get qualified and the site actually get activated, meaning that it goes from that 18% assessment ratio down to 5%. So there is that benefit to companies. Yeah, so what it basically does is it takes that typical property tax assessment ratio and reduces it to 5% from 18%.
Okay, I understand that. So it wouldn't be a situation where they would pay no property tax and just get a favored rate.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's in our Arizona system, it's called a Class 6 property.
Okay. Thank you very much for the information. It's exciting to see that there are more folks and more companies out there willing to invest and what used to be little old Goodyear and now is growing like wildfire. So we're happy to, certainly happy to be a part of it. Coming from the school side of things, my questions circle around with thousands and thousands of jobs coming our way. What the heck are we going to do with all of these children? That's a whole other presentation and a whole other conversation, but excited to see all the good work that you folks have been doing in bringing these new opportunities to us. It sounds like it's only good things from here for not only the school district, but for our community as well. So thank you very much for all the information. Are there any other board members that have questions, either for Mr. Paxson or Ms. Gary, who's also on the line? Thank you for joining us. If not, we will review this information. If any other information or questions come up, certainly let Amy or Jody know, and they will get in touch with the right folks to answer those questions. And then this will appear on our next agenda, I believe, in another week and a half or so for our study session, and we will review. Mr. Paxson, will you just review what it is that you're looking for from us? If there are no more questions and we agree and vote that we are in support of this, what is the deliverable you're looking for from us?
Yeah, so there would be a letter of support, which is a non-objection letter to the reclassification should the company locate and activate. And that has to go through a whole process with Customs Border Protection before they get activated. And then we expect that they obviously would not activate all 1,100 acres. It would probably come over a period of time. So we would be asking for that letter of support, identifying that property under that project name. This has been something that's done by the board in the past for multiple projects, and so we would issue you a draft letter for the board to support, and then have signed by your superintendent generally or the board president.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. Well, thank you very much for the presentation and the information. Again, board members, when you're reviewing this information in preparation for our next meeting, if there are any questions that come up, please let our district staff know, and they will get us in touch with the right people. So thank you very much for your time and for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Okay, moving on to item 3D, which is our COVID-19 update presentation from Superintendent Gunning.
Madam President, members of the governing board, we would like to give you an update on COVID-19 and where we are sitting as a district. Next slide. I am Jody Gunning, your superintendent. Next slide. So as you can see, we've had continued high levels of COVID within our district as a whole. We're definitely in the substantial range. And as you can see from the Maricopa County Department of Health, and their recommendation is that we are in virtual learning. These are some of the highest rates that we have seen. They continue to remain pretty high, but we're still unsure. I'm sure this week we'll start to begin to see the results from the holidays as well. Next slide. One of the things that as we were going through this process is we wanted to add additional enhancements from our dashboard, receiving feedback from many of you, and as well as sitting down with our nurses and our leaders. COVID-19 has such a vast impact on a district as well as at a school level. So we wanted to be able to show you at every level the impact, because these are the things that would not only show community spread and the impact within our community of our district, and as well as operational impact from staffing for folks that need to isolate and quarantine. So we added some on-campus and off-campus so that you have some more details there. We also added the cumulative total so that you can kind of see that summative as we go along with COVID positive cases. And we also added departments, because we know that a lot of our departments impact the operations of our organization, so such as like transportation and those types of things. Next slide. We continue to offer our free on-site learning and support services to children. We have over 700 students, K-8 participating, 139 preschool participants were in previously, and 280 students receiving special ed services, and 121 students receiving developmental preschool. Next slide. Food services, we offer free meals for all of our children age 18 and under, and they're available at 6 schools and 13 bus stops. These meals are available daily. Also for every child that is participating in our free on-site learning. Next slide. Technology update. We were able to complete our update to our bandwidth over the holiday break to 5 gigabytes. So we were very excited about that and very grateful to Cox as well as our entire technology team for all their hard work during that holiday time to get us up to date. We're monitoring the usage and we're registering between a 1 and a 1.4 gigabyte during the day. And I know that our on-site learners as well as our teachers working on campus have really enjoyed the upgrade. Next slide. We continue to just kind of update you on all of the technology that is being distributed. We have over 1,090 Chromebooks that have been delivered from Maricopa County that came in on January 4th, which we were very excited. And 375 Chromebooks were delivered to the warehouse on December 1st. And that was an order from back in March. We have 7 hotspots out for students who had needed them, over 2,900 of our own devices on loan, 343 devices gifted to students from our community partners, and 255 devices pledged. So exciting times and very grateful for all of our supports for our community, as well as we have, mentioned earlier, 180 from School Connect and 75 from anonymous donors. Next slide. Transportation, we continue to run 21 buses running our special ed routes. That contains 21 student monitors and student transporters. We have a van running our special ed routes as well within the district, and 1 bus running some general ed routes for our students that we needed to really get connected to their campus. 3 buses running for meal deliveries and 14 student transporter positions available right now and 6 monitor positions available. Next slide. We continue to do our frequent updates. So it'll be an update from my office this week on Friday. We're updating our FAQs on an ongoing basis on our website, enhancing our dashboard as needed. And we continue to meet with all of our leaders on a weekly basis just to ensure if there's anything that we need to, any changes that might have come from the county health department, CDC, any of those things, and then continue to support communications through the school level communications. And I am more than happy to answer any questions. One of the things I do want to let you know that we are working on as well, that we're putting together all the information for you, is you may be aware that the Emergency Leave Act expired at the end of December. So we're gathering some information. We want to make sure that we have budget information for you and available to you as we prepare possible options in the future. So we're gathering that information to get to you in a Friday update soon.
Also, Jody, one thing might be important. I know there's been a lot of information out about vaccine distribution, and teachers are part of the phase 1B. Do you want to just talk really quickly about kind of where we are with that and what our expectations are over the next couple of weeks of getting our teachers the ability to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. So we are very excited that the 1B phase has started, and all education personnel, including our school board members, but every single person connected to the school, every staff member, is eligible for the vaccine. We were a little nervous as we kicked off on Monday morning because as many of us jumped on at 6 a.m. to try to gather our appointments, the appointments were slim and few and far between. But as soon as they opened the Cardinal Stadium, we were able to actually really access a lot of appointments. So I know the staff has been very eager and they are definitely signing up for appointments. We are allowing flexibility for staff because this is a priority, because we know this is one of the steps in getting us back open. And we know it's really important. So our principals and their supervisors and managers and directors are working with their employees to be as flexible as possible so that they can access their vaccine. We are also working with Agua Fria School District because the county health department is looking for additional sites where they can add pods specifically for educators. So we'll keep you posted on that. We signed up our volunteered to definitely support Agua Fria in that process. So we'll keep you posted. Hopefully that on our second round of shots, that might be available as well for convenience for our employees.
That's wonderful. We were just talking earlier in our organizational meeting before that started about, all of us making appointments and getting set and taking advantage of the opportunity to be vaccinated. So, as governing board members, I know we were discussing it. Jody, I'm sure you've had those conversations with your administrators of the district office, but I think it's fair to say that we all encourage everyone that has the availability and the option to get vaccinated in this phase 1B to do so. And if you need help figuring that out or having time for your appointment or whatever it will be, please contact your supervisor to make sure that we can help you get those kinks worked out, because the sooner people get vaccinated, the sooner that people can stay healthy and we can get our kids back to school. So we highly encourage everyone that can be vaccinated to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I will open the floor for any questions or comments on the COVID-19 update.
You want to go one by one, or can I just jump in there and ask a question?
Yeah, you can just jump in there. Remember, you can have comments on this presentation here. We also have an action item down below. So if we're talking about, our current learning model or, in person versus virtual learning, we'll save those comments for down below. But anything regarding the presentation, yes, go ahead and jump in, Elaine.
I'll save it for later below. Thank you.
Okay.
Elaine, can I add one thing? It just made me think of when you started to ask that question.
Go
The
ahead.
other piece I forgot to add was that we are also in the final draft stage of a survey for all our staff that would be a part of in-person learning, and as well as the staff that already has students on campus. So we have that survey in the final draft stage. We also have a survey that we'll be sending to families on Friday with our communication on Friday to gain some input from them as well. And then in addition, we have surveyed our substitutes to gain insight. So the main component, there's a lot with COVID, but the main impact where we saw was operational. And so we just kind of see also where everyone is sitting. So just wanted to
that's great.
Everybody.
That's a great idea.
Perfect. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we will keep moving. Next on our agenda is item 4A, acknowledgement of public requests to speak. I believe we have 2 requests this evening. And because we don't have anyone from the outside public joining us here on our private Zoom, we are going to have someone from the district read those. And I believe Shelley Hornbeck is going to do that for us. So.
Thank you, President Clymer. We are humming right along, so I will quickly read our 2 public comments. Public comment number 1 comes from Candy Reyes. The topic is COVID sick days. It reads as follows. Dear Superintendent Jody Gunning, Madam President Clymer, and governing board members, my name is Candy Reyes, and I am the Litchfield District Education Association President. The LDEA would like the board to honor the 80 sick hours approved through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Even though it expired, the district can use the tax credit / unused sick time from FFCRA to cover the 80 sick hours by vote. It is within the board's power to approve such coverage, but not required by law. Providing these 10 sick days during a deadly global pandemic is the right thing to do to ensure employees do not have to choose health over paycheck. The Agua Fria School District, the district we feed into, is providing 10 sick days for employees who test positive. Districts all around the valley are also choosing to cover the 80 hours of sick time for their employees. I've included a Paradise Valley Unified School District's governing board agreement as a reference to see what factors they included in their decision. Again, we are asking that you honor the 80 hours of paid sick time for employees who test positive for COVID-19. Thank you, Candy Reyes, LDEA President and the LDEA Executive Board. We have a second
Before you
comment.
move on to the second one, I just want to state, because this is on the agenda, and Jody just went over it, just to sort of recap to the board that Jody and her staff are working on something directly related to this, and we'll be getting that in a Friday update. So stay tuned for more information on that, because it was just covered in the COVID-19 update. So I apologize, Shelley, please continue.
Thank you for that clarification, President Clymer. Our second of two public comments comes from an author named Mr. Joe Brady, and his comment is as follows. I understand that CNN 10 for Kids has been used in many of our children's classes over the years as a tool for updates on current events, and generally done so during their homerooms or advisor-advisee class. I also understand that CNN 10 is a daily program developed for children and that is portrayed to be an unbiased means of educating our students on current events, on what is currently going on in our country and our world. I also understand that no other national news affiliate has a production of this nature. That news in and of itself leads me to several thoughts of my own. I have seen several of the broadcasts myself, and while I agree that the reporting is far less biased than what we as adults are generally subjected to with the viewing of our own personally selected daily broadcasts on national networks such as CNN, CNBC, Fox, and the like. However, in my observations of the broadcasts that I have observed, there still seems to be at times enough of a message, and more importantly, imagery, that certainly seems to be pushing particular agendas. Let me be clear that I emphasize at times, but in my opinion, certainly enough to make a difference over the long term. This concerns me as a parent, and I was quite surprised that within a 3-day period of observing my child's online studies, I witnessed CNN 10 being broadcast 3 different times to my son's 8th grade classes at Thomas Heck Middle School. One of the classes that I observed this in was in his ELA or English class. That left me concerned and certainly asking myself the question, what do the current events that they are discussing here have anything to do with his English studies? For the record, I would like to be absolutely clear that I do not support any guidance for our students from any of the networks that I have mentioned above, as the messages being delivered to all of us as a nation and a world during our current political and global climate are becoming increasingly biased. In a quote from Thomas Heck Middle School's acting principal, Kristen Casillas, I agree with her statement that was conveyed to me when I brought my concerns to her attention. Quote, in our ever-changing world, the use of media to convey current events may be something we need to discuss as a district. End quote. And I strongly concur. Respectfully, Joe Brady. Thank you. That's the end of our public comment.
Okay, thank you, Shelley, very much. I appreciate it. Obviously, the second item is not on our agenda tonight, so we cannot have a board conversation about it, but I would ask Superintendent Gunning, if you would potentially, either yourself or maybe someone in our curriculum department would reach out and just, have a conversation with Mr. Brady about the use of these different curriculum tools and online platforms, that would be great. Maybe start a dialogue with him and get some understanding of why those things are being used. I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Number 5A on our agenda, we have the consent items. So I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, we will move forward. There is a motion to approve. Elaine, what is your vote?
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Jeremy, your vote?
Jeremy Honak, yay.
Melissa?
Melissa Zaidama, yay.
And Kimberly?
Kimberly Moran, yay.
Danielle Clymer, I am also yay. Motion carries. Our consent agenda has been approved. That will take us down to, let's see, item 7A under our action items for the evening. The award RFQ 21007, Architectural and Engineering Services for a new White Tanks Learning Center. Mr. Spivey, I think he is on and going to walk us through this presentation.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the governing board, Ms. Superintendent Gunning. Next slide, please. I'm Roger Spivey. I'm the Director of Purchasing and will provide you an update on the White Tanks Learning Center project. Next slide. Tonight, we're going to ask that you approve the recommendation for award of the RFQ, and we're going to provide a timeline and a general scope of work for this project. Next slide. How this aligns with the strategic plan under finances and resources. We're making the selection of this RFQ in accordance with the procurement rules for specified professional services. And for service, this aligns by providing, eventually we'll provide an updated facilities for White Tanks students and staff so they can perform at their best. So currently, the White Tanks Learning Center consists of 3 portable buildings. It has 6 classrooms, 1 restroom building, a half-court basketball court, a sand playground, gravel driveway and a parking lot, and 1 metal shade structure. If any of you have been out there, you know the White Tanks campus is not in the greatest of shape. So improving the campus and the facilities at White Tanks will give the students enrolled a sense of pride and provide a learning environment that the current facility cannot provide. Next slide, please. The financial impact. So this project will impact both the bond and adjacent waste funding. We anticipate construction cost to be about $2.5 million, that the architect and engineering fees will be roughly $300,000, and utilities and permits will cost about $150,000 for a total of a $3 million project. Next slide, please. This is a multi-year project that'll impact the current fiscal year and the 21-22 fiscal year. Looking at the bonds, this was approved in the 2014 bond. It's a general obligation bond that can be used for new school buildings and the rehabilitation of existing school buildings. And adjacent waste funds is a special tax that's levied by the school district on property owners under IRS 15955. Adjacent waste funds, before we can use them, we do have to submit it to the school facilities board for review and approval before we can expend those funds. And we won't know ideally how much those funds will be until we get a little further into the project. This project will impact the White Tank staff, students, and the local community. So the scope of the work for this project, we look to build a 10 classroom building that'll have indoor and outdoor recreational space, some type of space for food service, because currently they're served out of Scott Libby, campus administration space. We have to adhere to the minimum guidelines of the SFB. And then like anything, this may change based on the availability of funds. And when we meet with the city of Buckeye and the utility providers, what their requirements and limitations are. So a timeline, we're asking you to approve the RFQ for architecture and engineering tonight. If that's approved, we'll move forward with design, and we hope to issue a solicitation for construction services sometimes in March and have that awarded at the May governing board meeting. Design and permitting will be roughly 8 months. We anticipate 10 months of construction, and our current hope is that this project will be completed by May 2022. Again, all of this can change based on factors that are outside our control, depending on permits, materials, and the requirements for the utility providers. Again, I'm Roger Spivey, and at this point I can answer any questions you have regarding the award of the RFQ or the presentation.
Roger, I had one question for you. I also have a comment, but I'll save that until the end. You said the money from our 2014 bond was going to cover it. Is there any other additional funds that need to come from any other budget line items or M&O that would need to cover this, or everything is coming from the bond?
My anticipation is between a bond and adjacent waste funding that would cover this project.
Okay.
That's just construction. We haven't talked about FF&E yet, and then potentially use capital money for FF&E if there's no other funds available.
Sure, no, I understand. Okay, makes sense. Any other questions for Roger? Thank you very much for the presentation. That was great. I'm very excited to see what comes back from this and into the design phase. It's exciting for those kiddos and those staff members to really get a school building that is reflective of the Litchfield district. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Well, I will say I have spent just a little bit of time at White Tanks, not much, but my family and I actually donated some of our time for the last Love Our Schools Day, which was over a year ago now, just based with COVID, and had a wonderful time sprucing up the campus and doing what we could to make it a better home to those kiddos and to the staff members that work there every day. I will say that the staff is, amazing and committed. There are many staff members out there with us trying to make their school a better place. So my limited experience there is that they are ready and willing to do what they can do to get this off the ground. I'm sure they've been working in an environment that is less than probably what they deserve for some time now. As Roger mentioned, it's been some time, and that location is probably not one of our best. So I look forward to what you guys come back with and what we'll see from the design phase moving forward. So if there's no other comments or questions, I will entertain a motion for the award RFQ 21007.
Danielle, I actually do have one question. It's more of an operational question. Roger, who was on the evaluation committee that interviewed the 3 top candidates?
The evaluation committee was Dan Insing, myself, and Luke Jenke.
Okay, and is that typical, like what we've done in the past, like when we interviewed Belen Soto? Is that just part of our normal kind of protocol?
Yeah, so it's usually Dan and myself, and then we always try and ask one principal so we get an educational perspective. Luke has experience because he's done it with us in the past, so we continue to work with him in this one.
Okay, great, thank you. I will move to award RFQ 21007 Architectural and Engineering Services for New White Takes Learning Center as presented.
I will second.
Thank you, Elaine and Kim. If there's no more questions or comments, I will go down the road for the vote. Kimberly, your vote.
Kimberly Moran, yay.
Elaine?
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Jeremy? Jeremy, your vote?
Jeremy Honak, yay.
And Melissa?
Melissa's item a yay.
Daniel Clymer, I am also yay. So motion carries. Thank you, Roger, very much. We appreciate the presentation. Moving forward, we're on item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding our current learning model for students, and Superintendent Gunning will present.
So Madam President, members of the governing board, we gave you a COVID update. I would like to present that we continue in distance learning at this time with our high community spread of the COVID disease, since we are in the substantial state. We are, though, gathering additional information, and we'll have survey data for you at our next meeting. And hopefully with our accessing the vaccine, hopefully we'll see a difference in the community spread. But we are still seeing an impact, even though we have low numbers on our campus of students. We're still seeing a pretty drastic impact of the community spread within our staffing as is now.
Okay, Jody, I have a couple of questions. I'll start. I'm sure everyone has questions, so we'll just go one at a time. My first question is, I mean, obviously this is a major topic of discussion around our community and around our state, just like every other board meeting, I'm sure that's happening over the next couple of weeks. My question is that it seems like there has been some discussion about the metrics and the Department of Health Services and changing some of the metrics on the business side of things and kind of that part of the community, but not on the education side. So I'm wondering if, when you go onto the dashboard and you look, it still very clearly says the recommendation of the health department is that we are virtual with on-site support, which is what we're currently doing and what you're recommending. Has there been any update to those recommendations or to the metrics that other than what we're seeing right now online? Are they still recommending that we are in virtual with online support?
That's everything that we're seeing and hearing. I know it's a delicate balancing act within the state as a whole. The only metrics that they've talked about that they felt doesn't necessarily impact as much within a community as that bottom one, which is the COVID-like illness, the one that remained green for such a long time, and then now it finally tipped over to the red. But they said the top two are still the ones to watch. Even, we have weekly meetings with Healthy Verify. We're able to, very fortunate to have that service where we're meeting with Dr. Moran, who is our resource and contact, and she's from the Barrow Neurological Center. She updates us as well on an ongoing basis of kind of where we're sitting, and she definitely realizes the impact that all of this is having from an operational setting and the impact that it's having on adults. I think it's, they're still seeing that it is students or children are getting it, but they're not having as drastic of a reaction to the disease as adults do, but they're still getting the disease. But with the high community spread, we're definitely seeing it, in our adults. We continue to monitor, and, every week we're attending the county health department webinars, as well as our Healthy Verify, to see if there's any change. I think right now everyone is just very concerned about our hospitals and the high volume within the hospitals currently.
Okay, thank you. I've heard the same. I just wanted to make sure that those recommendations hadn't changed. And when you go online, you very clearly see that the recommendation is to remain in virtual. So I didn't know if that had changed. My second question is, can you just really clarify, or, just make sure I'm stating this right, that, not only are we, obviously we're concerned with the safety of our students and staff, but I think we all agree, based on the precautions and all of the safety mitigations we have put into place, that, we all agree our schools are safe places for our kids and for staff. Unfortunately, what we can't control is, the community spread that is going on outside of our schools. And so, I just want to say, I don't think our schools are unsafe, or that we are, keeping closed for the purpose of, because we can't keep kids safe in class. To me, it seems like, what you were saying is operationally, it is untenable for us to stay open because we do not have enough qualified staff to teach our children every day, or to transport them to and from school, or to serve them lunch, or to, do all of the things, all the services that we provide, based on isolation and quarantine and illness and things like that. Has there been any change or anything that has changed operationally since we talked last time that would be leading us in the right direction? Are we moving towards getting over that hump and figuring out how we are going to get back to school and kind of, work through these operational issues? Or are we still kind of in the thick of it and don't really see any, any movement anytime soon?
Well, I think right now, operationally, we're still feeling it because of the wide community spread, and we're still seeing it impact our staff members. We are, though, starting to make plans. We do know that the quarantine phase dropped to, rather than 14 days, it is now 10 days. So that is helpful. We have added the 4 student teachers to then begin. We've hired them on, and they will help support us as far as covering classes. And then I think obtaining the survey data from our substitutes. So we want to make sure that we're prepared when we go into the next phase of talking with you all. Once we have all that data and we make a proposal on when we're ready to reopen and what that looks like, we'll be looking through a different lens. We'll be looking through the operational lens because we want to make sure that we can sustain when we definitely jump in to reopen. We want to be able to sustain that and be able to offer that consistency within their education and not have something kind of come and go or back and forth. We want to be able to sustain opening.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, the floor is open for questions, comments from other board members.
I have a comment, or I'm not, perhaps a motion or whatever. Under the category of possible action regarding the learning model, I think there might be an opportunity here to, while there is online, to determine what things are happening from the online that teachers and administrators are learning that could be beneficial and carried on, or make some sort of changes that would be improve things in the future when things return to normal, and any improvements. And then also if there maybe anticipate sort of a motion to develop a report on what kinds of things that we could, some committee or something to study what could be beneficial, and also maybe to promote new paradigms while we do have the streaming going into homes.
Definitely. Thank you, Jeremy.
I'll go ahead and jump in on that. I think that Jeremy has a good point. Through all of this, some things have worked, right? We have found some new online tools. We have found some interactive sites, applications that kids are engaging in. Teachers are finding easy to use, that the teaching level is still high. So I do like that idea of evaluating what has been working. You had mentioned the parent survey, Jody, perfect time to kind of bring that up, and knowing going forward what our community and our parents are willing to do. I don't know how else to say this other than to just say it. I find that it will be extremely difficult for any parent to expect that any school can be 100% social distanced per the guidelines of the health department. I find it ironic that the guidelines of the health department, and again, our governor, are not matching. And so it makes it a very device situation. But when we do open, teachers can call out, teachers will be getting sick, kids will have to be sometimes rearranged. And so parents, please know that when you sign up, and I do believe that the parents that have their children come to school in the midst of this will not be concerned with that. But it is a very real possibility that I would like everyone to make sure that they keep at the forefront.
Thanks, Elaine. Any other questions or comments?
I would like to make a comment. We all know that having kids and the families that opted for the 5-day in person is what is best for students. However, I am happy to support continuing the distant learning mode for now because of the quality of education that our kids are receiving. I don't think, basically, I don't want to see our kids lose any more days in front of teachers, having teacher-led instruction. And if we have more teachers who are getting exposed potentially in the classroom or outside the classroom, having them separate from those students and having those students being able to quarantine at home but still participate in class and actual teaching and learning is what we're here to do. So we could make a decision to have the kids go back 5-day in person, but I believe that would, at this point, that would result in a greater number of teacher-led instruction days lost. And I'm not willing to lose any more days this year. I would rather us continue the high quality remote learning that we are doing than have the back and forth and potentially lose out on the consistency of the teacher-led instruction.
Thank you, Kim. I think, we've talked about the issues with consistency before, and Jody, you've kind of walked us through, what that looks like, what the quarantining process, not only for kids, but what for teachers looks like, and kind of the back and forth nature of that. So I think consistency is a good point to bring up. One other thing I wanted to bring up, and I know probably my fellow board members, maybe other than Jeremy, have been receiving emails in the last couple of months, really questioning our decision on the basis of what other school districts are doing. We talked about this a little bit in December in terms of, other governing boards and other superintendents are making different decisions. And I just, I want to address it, and Jody, I want to give you the chance too to say something from your perspective. But, I think that, while it is always good to watch what our colleagues are doing, it is always good to be aware of how other people are handling situations, because there are some people that are doing this really well, and there's ideas that we've taken, and there's collaboration that is happening behind the scenes between districts and governing boards and all kinds of things across our city and state. I know that's happening. So we are learning from different, places of things that we can do. It also, there are also many differences between school districts. There are size differences. There are resource differences. There are, grade level and different differences that are just not the same. All school districts are not the same, and they're not all created equal. And so some of the challenges we have, others might not have, or some challenges that other districts have may not occur here in Litchfield. And so, while we see other school districts, battling the same challenges we are, they're not all the same. And so I know, there are potentially one or two other districts around us, and that's really it, because most of them are still in virtual learning. There may be one or two that are making the effort to go back, and they're struggling through it too, just like we are. I think they're probably hurting, internally, in terms of teachers and things like that as well. And Jody, I'll let you address that. But, I just want to say that we do receive your emails. We are listening. We understand, we are following what is going on in the Southwest Valley in our own community, in our own workplaces and things like that. We are watching, and we are trying to make the best decisions. But I don't think it's a fair comparison to say, because what one school district is doing, we should be doing, because we are trying to make decisions on what is best for our community and our students and our staff. And it's not always the same across districts. So just wanted to put that out there. Jody, is there anything else you'd like to say to that point?
No, I think you stated it perfectly. I think it was very important to myself, and I know you as a governing board, as well as all of our leaders, to stay true to our mitigating strategies. And we did not want to put things in place that would negate that, because then all of that hard work and creating the safest environment was critical and very important. The other thing that I would just remind folks is that we do have the free on-site learning. So if there is something going on, and you have a need, or you need assistance, I would encourage anyone to reach out to their principal, just like they would on any typical, day, to see what resources are available and how they can tap into that free on-site learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. I think we are all of us here on this call, and all of us, around Maricopa County and the state as governing board members, are just doing the very best with the information that's presented, and trying to, as Jody said, stay true to what we have said we were going to do all along in terms of safety practices, and really do what we feel is best for students and for their overall education. I think we're all very much in agreement that virtual learning is not adequate for every student.
I have a little question, or just a comment, if I could. I think that the decisions are being made are intelligent and logical and based on evidence. However, I think that we could do a little better, perhaps, to explaining the justification to the community, because they're the people that go to Walmart and everybody's just coming and going and not a lot of distancing and things like that. And and they see private schools that are open and stuff like that. So I just would say that getting information out to people and about the resources, that there's the I forget what it's called, where you go to the school and there's classes and things like that, all those resources, and maybe they're being communicated well. It just seems like some people are kind of unhappy out there.
Yeah.
A little more communication would be good for the school district.
Yeah, agreed. I think, seeing the presentations that we've seen tonight in terms of, we have, I think it was 14 or 15 student transporter positions open, right? I mean, these are our bus drivers, people that are transporting our kids. That's, Jody, I don't know the actual numbers. That's probably half of our staff, would be my guess, a third of our staff, bus driver staff that is, open at this time. Whether it's food service or our teachers or, administrators, anywhere along the way. Jeremy, you're right. And trying to, let people know that just because things are back to normal or seemingly back to normal in our community, unfortunately, they're not back to normal in our schools, because operationally we just cannot keep them open right now.
Yeah, once you explain stuff that to people, they go, oh, okay, and then they feel better about it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa, did you have anything?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate our district making sure that we are staying true to what we said we were going to do from the beginning. I think that that's something that you've seen with a lot of districts, where they started out saying one thing and they've changed their mind so many times. And I understand that we're getting all this different feedback, but when you do look at what the health department is saying, it's very clear when you look at their website what they're recommending we do. Even though you're hearing all these things about schools should be open and whatever, they're not changing the metrics. They're not changing the things that they are recommending that we should do. And they're not changing the data that we're using for that. That's still getting updated every week on Thursday. And it's still saying that we should be in virtual learning. And so I think that it's good that we're doing that. And I do agree, we need to make sure that we are explaining to the community why we're making the decisions that we are, so that they understand. Because when we do that, Jeremy's correct. We are seeing them be a little more understanding, showing a little more grace, but that we understand the frustrations. We all of us here, most of us on the board, have children in the district or have children somewhere else, and we are all feeling the effects. So it's important that people understand we're not making this decision because we don't want kids in school, because we absolutely do want kids in school as soon as we possibly can. So I just think it's important that we make sure that we stick to what we said we were going to do, and that we follow some kind of benchmarks like we are doing when making our decisions, and that parents understand we want kids in school as soon as we can. So that's what we're all trying to do. That's why we are all saying, please go get the vaccine as soon as you can, because we want to get people to be able to be in school as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. Okay. All right. If there are no other comments or questions, I will kind of move us to a vote. Jody, just before that, I want to make sure in terms of the recommendations. So you are recommending that we stay in the virtual learning model with the next potential discussion on February 9th, which would be our next governing board meeting. So at the earliest, really, we're looking at the week of February 15th would be the next even potential date that kids would be back in 5-day model if it was discussed and approved on the 9th. So not any time between now and February 15th.
Correct. Unless something drastically changed, then we would pull you all back together, but that would be accurate. And then just so that on the bus piece that you were talking about, that's about 24% of our staff.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I was making guesses, and I shouldn't do that. I should have had Tommy on speed dial. So thank you, Tommy, if you're texting into this meeting and letting us know those. I appreciate you watching. Okay, so it looks like I will entertain a motion for this possible action continuing in the distance learning model until our next board meeting on February 9th, which would put us at potential action by February 15th. Okay, I will move that we approve the recommendation to stay in a virtual learning model until further discussion on February 9th.
I will second.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay, Melissa, how do you vote?
Mrs. Item, a yay.
Elaine, what is your vote?
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Jeremy, what is your vote?
Let me make sure I'm on. Yeah, I'm torn. I guess so. Yeah. Yay.
Yay. Okay. Kimberly?
Kimberly Moran, yay.
Okay. Danielle Clymer, I am also yay. Motion carries. All right. Moving on to item 7C, approved continuation of the certified guest teacher temporary rate increase. We discussed this a few months back, I believe, and we have Monica Sanders here to present this to us tonight.
Madam President, members of the board, in November, we brought to you information to support a recommendation to increase our substitute daily rate by $20 a day. That is set to expire on January 31st. So we are recommending tonight to continue that rate increase starting February 1st through May 21st, the end of school. So Stevie, can you scroll just a little bit? I'll go ahead and just speak to the agenda item as it's shown on our screen. So the recommendation is to continue the increase starting February 1st through May 21st and restoring to the original date starting August 2nd next school year. We also added a special note to ensure that the temporary increase does not apply to our accrued earned leave, sick leave policies. When our employees leave the district, they are entitled to reimbursement of their accrued earned leave time. And we just want to clarify that the temporary increase of $20 does not apply to that calculation that's used when we do that for that specific policy noted there. Okay. And scrolling on to the financial impact of the increase, one thing we have realized with financial impact is that we did look at the cost of August to December 19 of last year compared to what we have actually spent this year. So we have seen a savings of $173,482. Now, the cost of the increase through May, using previous invoice information, we were able to estimate that applying a $20 increase would cost us $74,000. And of course, I mean, that's assuming the same utilization for subs, which we may not necessarily see, but at least this kind of gives us an idea that although there would be a cost to increase the daily rate by $20 through the end of May, we are currently seeing a savings of 173 through December's, calculation or just comparison that you can see there. All right, supporting details in terms of the fill rate. So when we approved, or you approved the $20 increase in November, you could see that in December our fill rate did get a little bit better. So in December you can tell there that the fill rate did go up from November to December 70% to 80%, which is really, really good. That's usually where we are. We're usually in the 80s. But you'll notice that the absent need did go down. So still looking better on the fill rates for December after that $20 increase. However, our absence need did go down. And then what are other districts doing? And so we can kind of have an idea how we compare to others and how we're competing with others. Avondale District is paying $95 a day. Buckeye Union is still applying their increase, $150 a day. Dizer recently approved a stipend offer. So they are offering a stipend of $1,700 for subs that work 24 to 35 days, and then $2,500 for subs that are working 36 to 48 days. And Peoria's sub rate right now is $135. So, you know, our $120 rate, you know, isn't quite, you know, as competitive with some of those districts, but at least this might keep us, keep our subs still coming to us and subbing for us. So in conclusion, we just would like to recommend that we continue the increase. So we of $20 a day. So we're ready for our sub needs when that happens.
Great, thank you very much. I have one clarifying question, Monica. So I just want to make sure I understand. You're saying the total estimated cost from November last year when we initially approved it through the end of the school year this year is roughly $75,000. And we're saying that just for the first semester, August through December, we have seen $173,000 savings. So
That is correct.
netting that out, we're going to be $100,000 ahead of where we typically are, even with the additional cost.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I understood that. And those timelines overlap, but there will be most likely additional savings because we will see savings from January to May also, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe, yeah, that certainly is a possibility. So yes.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone understood that the cost, I mean, when you net that out, we're still, you know, saving money, which I know we've already spent that someplace else, those dollars. So the savings don't amount to much, but it is nice to see that we are actually able to save someplace. So, okay. Any questions or discussion for Monica or for the board?
I have two questions. Monica, so I just want to clarify. So from what you've seen in the fill rates, the temporary increase is having the effect that we want, which is we're able to fill more of our needs for subs.
Yes. So that did go up it went up 10% from November to December. Yes.
Okay. I see that. My second question is, what has changed that we have the need for subs is down so dramatically in all of the months year over year? What's the difference there?
So, well, you know, most of our teachers, you know, because of the internet concerns, have been teaching from home. And so, you know, that could be somewhat attributed to, you know, the reduction in sub needs. That's kind of what I'm thinking with that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just be curious. I mean, if in a normal November and December, we have over 600 absences that we need filled, but suddenly this year we have so many fewer, then are people not taking their time off then? Or I just think I agree with the increase. So this discussion is really more of a side note to that. I'm just wondering what's happening there.
Well, you know, just keeping in mind that absences aren't necessarily just, they're not just tied to teachers being absent. It could be that teachers need coverage because of professional development. So although professional development is still happening, you know, a sub isn't necessarily needed for that teacher because they're doing professional development during when they're able to. And so again, it just definitely looks different this year. And I think just with the flexibility of our teachers, being able to teach from home has definitely contributed to that reduction in need for sub coverage.
Kim and I would also say, I think people have been very conservative about their time because you just don't really know the impact of COVID. And so I feel like people have kind of tightened up a little bit, like, and I mean, you can't really travel and do a lot of the things that you might have been able to do in a typical year. So I think all of those pieces and they just kind of have tightened up on only taking their time, when they absolutely have to.
I guess so. Then I would just wonder, are we going to see a surge toward the end of the year of people wanting to take that time? And then that says that, I mean, we're basing this estimated cost on, I think, our averages versus, are people really going to make up for that later because they have time off to potentially take?
I don't know with the state of how we're sitting as a state anyway within the pandemic. I wouldn't anticipate that. I think people are still going to probably hold pretty tight, with their time. I feel like they've just been really conservative in making sure that they do it. They want to make sure they have their time if they need it, in case, I think, for medical purposes. And I feel like I feel our teachers have been so committed to their children during this time that they just don't, if it's something that they don't have to do, then they just don't do it.
Okay. And I think we have, teacher teams that are covering for each other, and, because the sub isn't available, so they're helping one another out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Monica, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, and I didn't ask you to bring this ahead of time, but I'm wondering, I know the number of guest teachers and the number of substitutes we have this year is significantly lower than we've seen in years past. So even though we have less absences to cover, it seems like we have less people to cover even those fewer absences. So do you think that, overall, I think the answer is probably yes, but do you think overall this, slight increase, and I mean, let's face it, $120 a day isn't, big money necessarily for the work they're having to do, but do you think that's helping us either recruit additional guest teachers, or at least just maintain and hold on to the ones that we have, because we need them so desperately?
Well, ESI reports that we currently have 197 active subs that have access to our sub, tool to be able to cover for absences. So, so yes, I would say that that definitely, is helpful that we have that many. Will there be a decline? I mean, again, I think we have lots of subs out there. We are conducting a survey, and so we haven't closed the survey to our subs yet, but we have had a really, really good response. So far, 114 subs have responded to that. So we're still collecting information just to kind of have a better understanding as to why are they not subbing for us. And so far, I did a quick glance earlier today, and it's really for COVID reasons. And so they're waiting to get vaccinated. ESI did announce to them and did let them know that they are eligible, and they only have to, they just have to show their ESI pay stub to get their vaccine.
That's great. That is great news. Okay, before we move to the vote, any other questions or comments on the certified guest teacher and pay increase? Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the continuation of the certified guest teacher substitute temporary rate increase as presented.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Kim and Jeremy. I will just go down now for the vote if there's no other questions. Kimberly?
Kimberly Moran, yay.
Elaine?
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Jeremy?
Jeremy Honak, yay.
Melissa?
Melissa Zeidema, yay.
Danielle Clymer, I'm also yay. Motion carries. Last item in our action agenda item, that is 7D, the adoption of our governing board norms. I will make a very quick presentation for this. During our board retreat late last summer, I believe, we had an opportunity to talk about our board, our relationship, how we wanted meetings to go. I know we've been working over the last couple of months to revamp our agenda and to try and keep our meetings, as swiftly moving as we possibly can. One part of that discussion about meetings and how we're going to act in our professionalism, we came up with governing board norms. So this document that you see here was just an addition last year to basically help us normalize our meeting behavior and expectations for people that are watching our meetings and for the governing board, as we attend them. So with the changeover in our governing board this year, we just wanted to bring it back and allow everyone to have a chance to approve and move forward with it. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the governing board norms.
Okay, great. I will second that. Thank you, Jeremy. I will go down now for the vote. Melissa, your vote?
Melissa's item a yay.
Elaine?
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Jeremy?
Jeremy Honak, yay.
Kimberly?
Kimberly Moran, yay.
Danielle Clymer, also yay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next time we are together, we will sign that document as a governing board, and Amy will make sure that gets up on our board doc site so that people can read that and see our commitment to that. So thank you very much for approving that, guys. Moving along, our last section of the night for presentations is item 8A. It's our strategic plan update with Superintendent Gunning.
Madam President, members of the governing board, I wanted to present to you tonight our district services survey results. And I believe we're going to load the presentation here quickly. This is our survey. So just as they're loading the presentation, this is the survey that is done internally that measures basically the customer service of our internal departments. And I wanted to show you our rollout process so that you know what happens internally with our surveys. Next slide. And of course, this survey and all of this process links directly back to our strategic plan and aligns with the service that we're delivering within our organization. In the rollout process, we'll kind of walk through how they set goals and work to achieve those goals and continue to monitor as we go along. Next slide. It's all about the continuous improvement of our organization. So we take those survey results, we roll out to gain input from our employees in the departments. Then they create an action plan for improvement. And then we continue to monitor and adjust and validate if our improvements worked or not. Next slide. So the purpose is to be transparent in communication. We have done surveys for years in the past, but once we adopted our strategic plan and we were able to be trained on how to roll out those results, we now have a very systematic and transparent way to deliver the information back, gain input from our employees, and have them a part of the process in making improvements and gains. So that's kind of why we do it, and then we'll go into more detail about what the rollout really is. Next slide. So the district services survey asks our department and school leaders to rate their service that they received within our internal departments. So accessibility, accuracy, attitude, operations, and timeliness. And they rate those on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very poor, 5 being very good. Next slide. So in fall of 2019, we wanted to kind of give you a little bit of history. We had about 200 participants, a little over 200. And these were our scores that we received with an overall mean of 4.35, which was very good. Next slide. And here we are in fall of 2020. So we had over 200 participants and our mean is 4.31, which is still outstanding, especially when you realize that we're operating in very difficult times and having to change things that we never thought would change on such short timelines. Next slide. So in looking at the numbers, we have to also then set goals. So when you look at these scores, when you're wondering like, well, is 4.31 a good score? Actually, it's an outstanding score. So when you look at any score 4.30 or above, your goal is to maintain that score. So it's very important in the rollout process that you find out what attributes contributed to those high scores and that you continue to do that. Though we are definitely high achievers, so we always continue to try to raise our top box score, which is our exceptional score. Next slide. So when we roll out, what we do is we modeled with our leaders, looking at our cabinet scores. So our cabinet scores is basically myself, my executive directors, and community relations director. So if you look at our greatest strength, our highest scores were attitude and accessibility. You can see those scores there. And what we do is when we want to look at is what contributed to those great strengths. And then you also look at your greatest opportunities. So we had a 4.0 in accuracy and 4.04 in timeliness. Next slide. So what we did was ask them to give us examples of what does attitude look like? Why did we receive such a high score? Give us examples, give us specific examples so that we can document and so that we continue. We want to make sure that if we're doing something well, we want to continue what we're doing well, and we don't want to assume what people attribute that high score. So we wanted very specific examples. Next slide. Opportunity and looking at accuracy. Why do we think the score was low? And having the group give us examples of what things could have contributed to that. And the other piece when you're looking at opportunities is we'll also want to look at what does a 5 look like so that we know how do we get there? What does that look like in the folks that are looking at this service survey? What does that look like? What does a 5 look like in their mind? And what does a 5 service represent? Next slide. So that kind of modeled that piece. Next slide. So with that information, then we set goals, and we set very specific goals that we work on for that of raising those scores. And so every single department takes their survey results back and delivers that same exact rollout process, which takes approximately, I would say, an hour to 2 hours to roll that out and set goals as an entire team to work on. Upcoming survey timelines and information. We just wrapped up our employee engagement survey that closed on December 18th. So we'll be rolling out those results soon. And then we'll be able to deliver those results to you as well as a governing board. And then this month we have the parent and student survey that will be open from January 25th through February 15th. The rollouts of those surveys also will take place on our school campuses as well. And I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jody, very much for the presentation. I will just remind folks that Studer, who is the organization that we hired as consultants originally for our strategic plan a couple of years ago, this is one of kind of the legs of that relationship in terms of helping us create surveys and engagement opportunities with folks, and then giving us the resources and helping us, plan out, the execution of how we make change. So Jody, thank you. That was a great presentation. I'm continually reminded that what a great decision that was to partner with Studer. I think they've been amazing. I know you have a great relationship with them and have modeled some of their good work in other places. I've talked about all the success we've had as a school district in other places for Studer. So I'm glad to see that we've been a success story for them as well. I think that's been that was an awesome decision that was born out of a trip to San Antonio for our board to get together for the annual board meeting conference. And if that was the only thing we took away from it, what an awesome thing, because they've been a really good partner for the last couple of years. So anyway, wonderful. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions about the survey? Kim?
I do have a question. Jody, you mentioned the employee survey as well as the parent survey. Have you had any discussions or thoughts on adding any questions related to diversity, inclusion, and equity on that survey, or would you anticipate we would do something separate, similar to what the Alafria district recently did regarding getting feedback from those stakeholders in relation to our?
We actually are working with Studer right now in identifying how we can incorporate additional questions into the surveys that will, incorporate and give us feedback on the diversity component.
Okay, so you anticipate those questions being added on the surveys that are being rolled out in the next couple of weeks?
No, probably not the next couple of weeks, but in the future.
Okay, so like fall, or I guess.
I would anticipate fall.
Okay.
The parent and student survey goes out once a year. So that will happen now. So we would anticipate in the fall. So I know they're doing some research. They do have a lot of several other organizations throughout the nation that are kind of doing similar and same work. So they're putting some recommendations together for us too.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a comment. The results of the survey that we just saw are excellent, and I think it is representative that our superintendent is doing an excellent job and deserves congratulations.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that presentation, Jody. I think you are going to lead us in our next item as well, which is 8B, the Digital Learning Academy update.
We just wanted to verbally give you a brief update on our Digital Learning Academy. We had over 700 commitments from our current students in the Digital Learning Academy, recommit or commit for the 21-22 school year. So we're very excited about that. And then we're just in the midst of our next steps with the Academy and looking at, the principal position and those types of things. So we'll be bringing more info back to you very, very soon in regards to DLA. So just wanted to keep you updated each month.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm going to be the first to say both to Superintendent Gunning and also to Gina DeCoste, who I think joined us on the line. I hope you're here to hear this as well. I will admit I was the first one, or maybe the biggest, maybe I should say, skeptic to how, opening a 17 school and making this work and figuring out all of these things, amid a pandemic was going to be successful. And I would be the first to say that I am so glad to say that I was dead wrong, that over 700 students have already committed and have said, yes, this is working for us and we want to keep doing it. So kudos to, Jody, obviously you and Gina for all the work that you've put into making this and all of the other staff members, but to all of our DLA teachers right now that are clearly kicking butt and creating an environment where students are succeeding and thriving, and 700 families have said, or 700 students, maybe fewer families, but have said, sign me up. This is what we want to do. So I have never been happier to say that I was wrong, that I really thought we were going to struggle in our first year to get enough students to really make this viable and make a school community like we're used to having. And I'm so happy that that was not the case. So congratulations, that number is phenomenal.
Thank you.
President Clymer, could I add just one more thing to that?
Absolutely.
It is a choice on open enrollment, and Wendy let us know today we've had a couple people apply through open enrollment for the DLA, and also we haven't opened it up to the rest of the district yet. So 700 with priority, with commitments that people that are already in it. But I anticipate it staying around 700. I don't see a huge influx, and I think some people, as schools open, may change their mind. But I agree with you. I think it's a good, solid number and a great jumping off point for us. Very manageable, very doable, and our teachers are rocking it. And I think that's the best part of the Digital Learning Academy that we're doing, is that parents have live interaction with teachers. And that's really what they love. And we're lucky because we have amazing teachers doing it for us. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that is one, definitely differentiator amongst other online offerings out there, is that we have a live teacher that kids are interacting with every day. And I know, we went through this last time, but I think that's definitely one of the home runs of this whole thing. Jeremy?
I'm just going to say excellent. That's always exciting. That's wonderful news. And You guys are doing a great job.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the updates.
Thank
If
you.
there's no more questions or comments, we will move on. 8C, the update on hiring of student teachers as contracted guest teachers. Jody, I think you mentioned this just earlier, but I think there's some information you want to present here.
We just wanted to update you that we have all 4 are on board, and we were able to really get them started. We have a very systematic process. They work each and every day. They are the priority, so they are placed first. And then also we'll step in if there's a long-term need even during this time. So it worked out very well. So thank you so much for the support of that, which again will help support our operational struggles in the future.
Quick question, just clarifying point. These 4 individuals, we had them sign a contract through the end of the school year through May, is that correct?
Correct. And they are certified teachers now because they've all met all of their credentials.
Right, completed their schooling and everything last year. Okay, perfect. That is great. Well, welcome aboard. I know that we saw your names in our consent agenda items in terms of new certified teachers. So congratulations, and we're glad to have you here, very much so. Okay, moving on to item 8D, the governing board goals update. I will just remind everybody quickly that at that same retreat I mentioned earlier, we had 4 governing board goals. Aside from the district goals, these were goals that just the 5 of us wanted to achieve over the year, and we have completed 3 of them to date, I believe, and we are working on the 4th, which is great. I'm going to turn it over to Kim. We teamed up on each goal, so 1 to 2 board members took each goal and kind of tackled it together. Kim and I worked on this one together, and so I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and she is going to walk us through the components of what we have left to achieve this goal.
Thank you, President Clymer. If you take a look at the document that has the information behind this goal, basically we as a governing board said that we would execute 2 new strategies to share and receive information and feedback with external stakeholders. So because of COVID, of course, our options are limited. Can do. So we had originally said we wanted to strategy 1 would be community education of the board role in print and digital communication pieces. And strategy 2 would be conduct a stakeholder town hall / forum for all community members. So we really need to just have a discussion to determine, how we want to go ahead and continue executing these, if we want to make any changes to what these goals are and what we think would be best. I have a couple of ideas. I'll go ahead and share those since I have the floor right now, but totally open for options. My thoughts for the stakeholder, the town hall / forum would potentially be maybe 1 of 2 topics. I think it would be interesting to have a way when we receive the parent survey results back to then be able to and discuss those results, and maybe as board members address some of the concerns or issues that might come up from there, or how we might take that, basically explain the process, maybe how we would take that feedback, and then how Superintendent Gunning would then potentially roll out any improvements and things like that. Kind of how that feedback is utilized, I guess, might be a good piece of education. The other idea that I had is about school funding, which I know this board is really on top of wanting to help our community members and parents understand school funding, especially since we potentially have 1 or more issues on the ballot this fall. It might be a good opportunity to discuss those and really kind of break some of the funding issues down to brass tacks and really get into the nitty-gritties with that. In addition to the potential election issues, we do believe our funding based on lower enrollment will be decreasing next year. And so that has a whole nother level of challenges that I would like to discuss more about sooner rather than later. what is everyone else's thoughts, or how would you like to see this board goal be accomplished this year?
Yeah, I'll jump in and just say, I know, we did have a lot of initial conversations about the town hall forum and how important that was. And because we don't have, sort of first person connection with folks right at the school level, or, really even at the district office or anything like that, these meetings are the only time that we're together. So how could we, have some sort of communication or engagement with folks? And we thought the town hall forum idea was great. I think the format still makes sense. Obviously, people are very used to the virtual format now, so wouldn't be super difficult to do. And I think our district has done, a few of these really well when Jody had these earlier in the year. My concern, I think there's still a good idea to do. And Kim, I love your ideas about having very focused topics that keep us sort of on track. I think initially our idea was to have sort of these open forums about what governing board members do and how do we, sort of do our job, and people being able to ask us questions and things like that. I think right now, everything is so dominated by the pandemic and COVID and all of our operational issues. I think we'd have a really hard time really, discussing any other business of the district. I think those topics are important, and I certainly, want to answer people's questions or have those conversations. But I think the original goal was different than that. So I just want to, sort of be mindful that as we do this, I think setting up very specific topics to address and things like that would be helpful, because, most people in the community and probably some of the board members as well, I mean, this is what is on our mind right now. This is what we're doing day in and day out, trying to, figure out how to get back to school. So I just don't want COVID to completely dominate this, because I think there were some other, to the points you mentioned, there were some really good points that we wanted to initially address. So I'd like to at least see us try to address those specifically. Anyone else have comments, questions about the town hall forum?
I'm wondering if we could do the town hall forum more in the way that we did the candidate forum, where we have people send in questions, can't ask them there. So then we can kind of know the questions of what they're going to be, kind of thing. And then we can't get taken off our topic that we're trying to stick to. Might be an idea of doing it in that kind of format instead of having everybody be able to be on necessarily.
You're saying, like, instead of a live format kind of Q&A, but just like send it in ahead of time and then we would just answer them live on.
Yes, because I think that both the topics that Kim brought up are great topics to have done. I think that parents do surveys and they don't know what happens to that. So I would love the idea of us being able to do something on those surveys so they see that we do get the results, we do use those results. But again, that seems to be more of a district side, like a district responding to that stuff more than us necessarily. However, it's good for them to see that we do see that and we get the feedback and we know what they're saying. So I like that. And also Kim's right. We're talking about serious budget cuts probably in the future, plus possible things on the ballot next year. So we need to start educating parents on the financial side of things as soon as we can.
I know that, I think the budget and just school funding in general, right? I mean, we've talked about that a lot. I know, even part of Superintendents Gunnings, I mean, some of your goals have been like, how do we just educate our staff? How do we educate community members, families, things like that? We've been trying to do this for, the last 12 to 18 months. If we took that on as a goal, what do we think in terms of timing would be appropriate? We have a lot going on in terms of budget over the next 2 months. So I guess what I'm saying is hosting it now is going to be very difficult because I'm not sure that we have a lot of that information. And Jody, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of timing, but I know that, February and March timeframe for the budget is critical and a lot of those decisions are going to be made. Potentially after that March timeframe might be a better time just because we may have more settled, we may have a better understanding of what our funding next year will look like specifically for our district. And then we could also obviously touch on just the changes that are going to have happened. Obviously COVID, all of that. I mean, there's so many changes that are still up in the air that we just don't have the answers to yet. So potentially waiting until later in the school year when we may have some of those. And then we can also address just overall general issues, questions on, override and things like that, that might be additional school funding questions that, we could answer that may be applicable even for next school year.
I think that's a great idea. All of those are great topics. So maybe prioritizing which ones you want to kind of start with, of which, and the timeliness or the timing of them, of, looking at that. I think you could, like you were kind of saying, that funding and then the budget side of it. I think there's several, those could kind of mesh together, right? If you're talking about basic funding and trying to show some, basic underlying pieces, and then the impact to funding and all of those components. So I would, but they're great topics. So I think that you could kind of look at them and maybe then stage them. I can't remember how many you wanted to do in a year timeframe, or
Kim, do you remember?
I think we just wanted to do one this year because we'd never done it. So, we got different feedback saying, okay, yeah, we think this would be a good idea. And I think other people don't think it would be a good idea. So, I think we just wanted to have one and, see how that goes. And, we're just trying to be, I don't even like the word creative, because I don't know that having a town hall is super creative, but we just want to have a way to get more feedback directly from the community members. And we really don't have a great way of doing that right now, other than the folks that send us emails. And then to Melissa's point, I agree that this is really for the district. But again, I feel like that's one of the few ways that we actually get direct feedback and comments that we can read from parents.
I have I know I'm coming in late to this, and you guys have spent a lot of time thinking about it. I like Melissa's idea that when people have questions and they get feedback, but I think the key to this is to get to make the I'm from show business, to make the board meetings exciting enough that we're getting people in the hundreds watching it. And there's some easy ways to do that, to just make it seem a little fun at the beginning, or just a way of saying why you should watch it. Just like when you turn on the news, you see a little teaser of what the big stories are, and then put the important things near the beginning as much as it can be done in the format, and then the business to be moved later. And then I don't know if there was a chat and there was somebody that was reading the chat and people type in questions, and then we just have a little 5-minute thing where someone reads a few of the questions and a few things. Not that you don't want it to go into a big long slugfest, but just to get some, to get that kind of a thing. Because when you get people involved, they're gonna tell their friends, and then more people are gonna be involved, and you're gonna find all of a sudden running everything. Particularly, you get big problems like budget is impossible, budgetary problems, and the COVID and the closing the schools and whatever. If you got a lot of people involved, you have a great conduit to just give information out, and people, the stakeholders, feel like they have a stake.
Yeah, I was going to ask Jody, what's the date of the parent survey that you were talking about earlier?
So out January 25th through February 15th. And then it has a very specific rollout process. So they roll it out with their staff and involve their highly involved parents to get input, kind of going through that same process of the things that they excelled at and why do they think, giving specific examples so they maintain those, and then the opportunities, looking at those. So they have their staff and parent involvement there, so that they then can set goals.
So it sounds like a town hall maybe at the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe a good time. That's enough time for some information to come in if I'm thinking about this on the calendar. I think, to everyone's point, having a few specific topics, the budget, returning to school safely, and then to Jeremy's point, having something fun, having either a chat line or questions that are already sent in for similar to the candidate forum, to making something fun, maybe an incentive from students. They can get, different, like Owl Bucks, I'll refer to Litchfield, for a participation. You could go way out there and just want to know that whoever draws the short straw for the pie in the face, I hope it's not me. There you go. That would get them watching.
I've been to enough, school assemblies to know that I never want to be a school principal because I'm either going to get a pie in the face or I'm going to get dunked in a bucket of water.
That's right. That's right.
Or something like that. So no, I did not sign up for that as a governing board member. We deal with a lot of stuff, but I really don't want to be duct taped to a wall. So I'll pass on that opportunity. Okay, so just to kind of wrap this up and get this back on track here. So I'm hearing lots of good ideas. I'm hearing that probably the April, maybe mid to late April timeframe sounds good. It allows us to get through the budgeting process for our own district in February and March. Gets us through spring break. And then, we can find a time in April that might potentially work. Kim, I would suggest potentially offline, you and I getting together and creating an initial stab at the sort of agenda or talking points or whatever, budget and school funding and what that looks like. And then potentially bring it back at our February meeting and, get Jody and her executive staffs kind of buy off on what that looks like and where that content might come from and all of that kind of stuff. And then, bring that back in February when we have a better idea of what some of those talking points might be.
Okay, yeah, I think that's great. And so that takes care of strategy 2. Now I know strategy 1, we had talked about potentially doing like a newsletter or something like that. And I think Danielle, you were going to maybe start that process, but I don't know if that's something you still want to do or if you think there's something else brewing.
I don't, if there's something else, we can absolutely do that. Yes, I have a newsletter written. I'm not in love with it yet, but I'm sure that with the help of Jody and probably Shelly and Amy or somebody over there is going to help me dress this sucker up. But yes, I think we said we were going to start with a quarterly newsletter and kind of see how that goes. Yeah, I have a first draft written. So I think that's something very easy and doable to start with. And we should absolutely do that and put that on our governing board site. And then just kind of continue any other communication opportunities we can see, that might come along between here and the end of school.
Okay, great.
Okay, so anything else on governing board goal number 4? Fantastic. Okay, so we are on to our report section. We're going to move on to the report from the superintendent.
Madam President, members of the governing board, my report is very brief. So since our last board meeting, I've been spending time onboarding our new board member, Jeremy Homenack. I was able to give tours of both White Tanks Learning Center and Belen Soto and then just try to get him caught up. He's a very quick study in learning all the different things there are to learn. The other part that was a lot of fun, that was very enjoyable, was to spend the morning, Saturday morning, with Melissa Zeidema delivering our food boxes and books to our families. And so I was very, very pleased that I was able to visit my Dreaming Summit area and deliver some wonderful goodies to our families. And that's all I have.
That is wonderful. And that was through the Rotary Club, correct?
Correct. Goodyear Pebble Creek Rotary.
Yeah, that's wonderful. They've been wonderful partners this year. Thank you. Okay, so reports from our governing board members. Jeremy, I will not make you start first since you are the new guy. I will let you go. I will let you go towards the end, but Kimberly, why don't you start us off?
I would be happy to. Thank you, President Clymer. I'm going to echo what Superintendent Gutting said. I had the pleasure on December 19th of delivering food boxes and books with Megan to families on the north side of our district. And it was a wonderful experience. Thank you to the Goodyear Pebble Creek Rotary. It was eye-opening to see some of the family circumstances that our students are living in. And it was also very encouraging to feel the love, pride, and gratitude for our school family. There was a cute SUV type that had, some like go DSC and some like, sayings on the back that was parked in in front of one of the homes. So definitely showing their school pride there, which was very cool to see. I also was able to attend a training that was called Creating Workspaces Based on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I was able to attend that along with the department directors, and that was on December 21st, where we discussed implicit bias and gave some examples of areas that we have experienced implicit bias, or we have recognized implicit bias in ourselves, and examples of discrimination and racism, not only in our schools, but also in our community. And I look forward to seeing this work continue at all levels of our staff throughout the district. I had a couple of chats and updates with Superintendent Gunning, as always. So those are always informative, especially in light of COVID and all of the rising numbers and things like that. We do keep in touch on that on a very regular basis. I also attended an ASBA webinar on communication that was very informative. It definitely makes me appreciate what our district does and the lengths that Mrs. Hornback as well as Superintendent Gunning go through to communicate in a respectful and empathetic way to our families. I would also like to make one statement to address the comments that Governor Ducey made in his State of the State address. I just want to clarify that we have never asked taxpayers to fund empty seats, because our seats are not empty. We are simply teaching in a different mode. And we in the Litchfield district are not seeing the severe learning loss that Ducey referenced in his remarks. I am very proud of our teachers and staff for the quality of education that they've been able to provide under these very challenging circumstances. Being in the classroom in person is best, there's no dispute, as I mentioned earlier, but Arizona is the global COVID hotspot. So what we need from our governor and from our government, our state government, is support for public education. And we need full funding and measures in place to control and diminish community spread of COVID-19. Which brings me to the last and most important action that I took towards opening our schools back up in full this month, which is today I woke up and drove in the dark to State Farm Stadium to receive the first dose, my first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Seeing the hundreds, if not thousands, because there were a lot of cars there in line, gives me hope. I literally had tears coming down my face thinking, all of these people are here getting this vaccine. It is actually happening. And so I encourage others to, as my fellow board members have done tonight as well, I encourage others to receive the vaccine as soon as possible. And I also will remind you to continue masking up, hand washing, and social distancing. And I just will encourage you to hold on, because there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. We are all desperately seeking that light. Can't wait for it to be here. So thank you for your remarks. Melissa, how about you?
I feel like Kim takes my words sometimes, but no. So this last month has been kind of light on board stuff, actually. With COVID going crazy, it seems like we have had less parents emailing us freaking out, because I think they understand the dire situation that we are in here in Arizona and Maricopa County especially. It makes me sad to see where we are, but it makes me happy that people are understanding and taking it more serious. So I did miss a webinar, which is, again, I'd like to say the webinars, Jeremy, you should definitely do the webinars that they have on Wednesdays that are free. And if you miss them, you can catch up on it later, like I'm going to be doing this weekend because I missed the last webinar. But they are very informative, and it's a great resource that ASBA provides for us. So I'm excited to do that. I especially enjoy being with Jody and getting to deliver the food boxes and the books. I have to say that getting to see Jody, like, in her area where she came from her Dreaming Summit area, she has a love for kids like I can't even describe. It was really awesome to see how excited she was to just be out there and be around those students that she loves and that area that she loves, that she came from before she moved on to be our superintendent. So it was very enjoyable to do that. And I love the give back things that we are able to do and partnering with others and that we do in our district. It just warms my heart to see that. As well as I ditto to everything Kim said about Governor Ducey and our teachers. All I could think of while Governor Ducey was talking yesterday was how much I appreciate every one of our teachers for everything they do every day, because I know that they are working harder than they have ever worked, being thrown into this whole new way of doing things. And they figured it out and they have knocked it out of the park, and our kids are learning and they're growing. I see it in my own children. I see it in other children. I hear it from other parents. I know that it's hard, but we are making it work and we are doing it great for our kids. So even though some people act like they don't see you, I see you, and I know that you are working hard for our kids, and I appreciate you every single day for everything that you do.
Thank you. I second that. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. Okay, Jeremy, I'm going to throw you to the fire. If you have something you'd like to add for a board report this time, you may, and I'll give you a one-time pass for your first board meeting, excuse me. If you don't have anything to say, you can pass on to Elaine.
Well, I'm going to save the pass for maybe if I need it in the future, because I've got plenty to say.
Okay.
I'm extremely grateful that all the resources that have been provided to me and all the time. And I think Jody has just gone out of her way to, I've really met all the people, gotten a lot of detail from Wendy and Megan and Gina and I don't know who I'm forgetting. Had a wonderful tour of the White Tanks Learning Center with Megan and Trina, the principal there, and then went to Bell and Soto with and Courtney and just it was just an awesome experience to see the invention kind of Courtney and Jody, and then of course the support of the board and everything, that it's an amazing facility there. I think it's going to be incredible what the new White Tank Center is going to be. I have gone to a lot of seminars, Melissa, wow. I mean, webinars is what I'm saying. But I'm also just very passionate, and I'm working a little bit on the English learning thing. I've spoken with the Deputy Attorney General of the state of Arizona and other people. I'm actually working with them to see some ways that we can streamline and come up with some ways that are a little more efficient than the literal translation of the mandate. And I believe there is a lot of opportunity there. I'm encouraged by what I'm learning. So that's what I have to say. I'm also incredibly grateful that it's incredible that we have a vaccine in under a year. I'm getting in mine tomorrow, and this is unheard of. That I don't think anybody even heard of COVID or was really talking about it a year ago, and here we are getting the vaccine, and I think some credit is deserved where is due where that came from. So that's my report.
Thank you. Elaine?
So I was thinking about holding up a sign that said, yeah, what she said. Oh, yeah, what he said. Because to Melissa's point, Kim always starts it off, and she always starts it off so well. And we just want to hit ditto on that. I'm just going to say two things that I'd like to go over. I also had the pleasure of the Rotary delivery of food to our families. I got to hang out with my friend Shelly Hornback. Shelly, we had a great time. I love that picture of us. It's one of my all-time favorites. Always will be. So the next thing that I want to talk about, I'm actually going to read, which I know is outside of my norm. So hang in there with me. I would like to take this opportunity to announce to the staff and the parents and the students that I will be resigning as the member of the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board effective at the end of the month. I am so very sad to end my appointment early, but I will be moving out of district, which is a precedent of the position. Now, it did cross my mind to not say anything, but this would have gone against the main core of our work, and that was transparency. And I didn't want to wait for the end of the month to let you all know this information. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve this community and with such amazing people. I want to thank all of you who supported my crazy idea to run for the board 2 years ago. I could not have done it without you. My official last day in the district will be January 31st, so you will see me at the meeting scheduled for the end of this month. And at that time, there will be more information on the open seat, and I am sure a tearful goodbye on my part, for you know how I like to cry. If there is one quote that I've tried to live by, my apologies, it is 3 simple words, and that is to keep moving forward. Working as an art teacher at Litchfield Elementary School still remains today one of my most favorite jobs. The worst money I've ever made, we all know how I feel about this, but the best job I have ever had. I came here to raise awareness for all special teachers, and I leave here knowing that I accomplished that goal. I want to thank my fellow board members, Superintendent Gunning, and the staff for welcoming me with open arms and allowing me to stay true to myself. I will miss this very, very much, and I will see you all at the end of the month. And that's all I've got to say, or I'm going to really cry.
Well, thank you, Elaine. I will rescue you hopefully from your tears, so you can go on mute. I want to address, I've known about this obviously for a couple of days. You called me and we had a conversation about it. So I've had a little bit of time to think about what I want to say tonight with this announcement. But first, I just want to ask Jody, I know obviously this is a major announcement. We just had an election. We have a new board member and we'll have another one, with Elaine rolling off at the end of the month. So Jody, do you want to just give us a quick 30-second explanation of what the process will be from here? And I know we'll get more information at our next board meeting, but for those people that are wondering what in the heck happens now, can you just give us a really brief recap?
Absolutely. We'll go through an appointment process, which is run through Steve Watson's office. He'll lead that. So we'll be taking next steps of posting the position where people can put in their interest, both at our district level site as well as at the county level site. And then we'll just walk through the process as we go. Hopefully COVID won't hold us up too long, but we'll have to kind of see the duration of that process, but hopefully we can turn it around in a decent amount of time.
Perfect, thank you. If you should have any interest in becoming a Litchfield Governing Board member, you can contact our district office or watch out on our website. As Jody mentioned, we'll be posting more information there. So you can contact anyone in the superintendent's office for more information. So as I mentioned, I've had a couple of days to think about this and really think about the dynamic group that is the board. I know, Jeremy, you're coming into this now, but you will be part of this dynamic team rather quickly. And Elaine, as I was thinking about what this means in the last 2 years, certainly have been difficult and challenging, but they have been fun. And they have been full of laughter and tears sometimes, and a large part that is due to you. So I want to say thank you. And I want to read a quote, and it's a little bit long, but I think it's meaningful for both Elaine and probably Jeremy as well. And as soon as you told me, I really this really popped into my mind, and so I thought, this fell on my heart for a reason, so I wanted to share it with everybody, but Elaine, especially to you. I will quote Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man, or in this case, woman, who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, but there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Thank you, Elaine, for daring greatly, for jumping into the arena feet first and trying to do your very best. Our district is better for it. We're going to miss you terribly. And to Jeremy, welcome to the arena. Thank you for not standing on the sidelines, but taking the risk of failure in order to succeed. Our community, staff, students, and this board, thank you. And we welcome you to the team. Yes, you're very welcome. You are going to be very missed. I know, Elaine, you have been a huge advocate for our staff, both certified and classified. You have been an advocate for transparency, for fairness, and inclusion of all voices from every corner of our district. And those changes haven't gone unnoticed. And we will, I promise you from my position here, and I'm sure others on the board, that we will carry that torch in your absence as much as we possibly can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I have, before I close out the meeting tonight, I have one more kudos. So for those of you that have been on with us this whole time, you also know we had an organizational meeting earlier this evening. The beginning of the year, as it is with most businesses, is very hectic. We have a lot of things going on, a lot of things annually that we have to take care of. And although the board is able to, move through them swiftly on the agenda and take care of things matter-of-factly, we are able to do that because we have an amazing board secretary and a staff at the district office that makes us look good each and every meeting. So kudos to Amy and to Jody and the rest of the staff for keeping us abreast of everything that is going on in public education, which there is a lot. Keeping us up to date on ASBA and all of the, the new standards that are being put in place with the health department. Amy makes sure that we are updated on a weekly, if not daily basis on what is going on around the district and making sure our agenda is in tip-top shape and that we are getting through all of the items that we need to. And we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, Amy, again, and Jody and the staff for always making us look good. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy and Jody.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda is our reports from administrators. Everybody has them there. These are just information only. So again, administrators, thank you so much for putting these together. This is really our only way to connect and engage with the school level and each department. So we really do appreciate that. If there are no other questions or comments for the meeting, I will allow Melissa to do her thing.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All right. I'm sorry, we can't do this all in favor of. We're going to have to go individually just to rules. Jeremy, what is your vote?
Jeremy Honak, yay.
Melissa.
Melissa Zeidema, yay.
Elaine.
Elaine Weathersby, yay.
Kimberly.
Kimberly Moran, yay.